Hi, everyone. I'm Joe Lamond, President and CEO of NAMM, and I'd like to welcome you to our Careers in Music Summit. Our goal today, along with our special guests, is to inspire you and to realize that you have a place in our musical ecosystem. Regardless of your skills or your passion, it's music, and this is your home, and we want to make sure you find your right place. So we've got some great guests today, and so many people to thank setting up, but we owe a great debt to our friends at Potsdam and the Crane School of Music for this idea originally to bring this type of thing to the NAMM show. So thanks you to them and all the people that are helping to put it together behind the scenes today. It's Believe in Music Week. We could not be physically together at the NAMM show, so creating this type of content, we hope, will be the approximate of bringing us all together until we can, again, gather safely at the NAMM show. So, special guest today. I'd like to start off with someone that if NAMM show regulars are familiar with this great young artist, Yamaha artist, and I'd like to let's do the best way to start. Let's play some music. Could I cue the Grace Kelly video, please?
One of my past albums is called Is You Is, or Is You Ain't, My Baby. Get on and boogie with us. Hey, I got a man who's always late every time we have a date, but I love him. Yes, I love him. I'm gonna walk up to his gate and see if I can get it straight, 'cause I want him, and I've gotta have him. Sing Is You Is or Is You Ain't, my baby. You know the way you're acting lately makes me down. Is you is or is you ain't, my baby. Seems the flame in your heart has gone. Every time we have a date, but I love him. Yes, I love him. I'm gonna walk up to his gate and see if I can get it straight, 'cause I want him, and I've gotta have him. Singing Is You Is or Is You Ain't, my baby. You know the way you're acting lately makes me down. You have always been my baby, baby. Seems the flame in your heart has gone out. Now a fella is a creature who has always been strange. Just when you think you're his, he's gonna make a change. He's gone and made a change. I'm singing Is You Is or Is You Ain't, my baby. You know the way you're acting lately makes me down. You have always been my baby, baby. Seems a flame in your heart has gone. much, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Much love. We'll see you soon.
Oh my. Oh man, Grace. Okay, we got to start with the musicians. Who are those? Those are great players.
They are, Joe. They're all based in New York. My drummer, Ross Peterson, he's been touring with Manhattan Transfer. He's been playing my band many years. Julia Adamy, rocking it on the electric bass. Devin Yesberger on keys. We recorded it at Virtue and Vice in Williamsburg in Brooklyn recently.
Wow.
Yeah.
Got the masks on, so it'll be labeled this year, which we'll never forget anyway, right? So, wow. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of our Careers in Music Summit. Again, we're trying to, reach a lot of young people and inspire them that they too have a place, regardless of their role in our musical ecosystem. I think music is what joins us all together, though, and we all are players at heart. When did you start? How did you know that this was your path?
Well, first of all, thank you, Joe. It's really an honor and a pleasure to connect with you, and I'm so stoked to hear about this virtual year. I started music, I guess, as soon as I could talk. Wow. My parents were saying that I was singing, but the first connection I had was at 6 years old. I was playing classical piano, and I hated to practice the notes on the page, but I loved to improvise. And so I wrote my first song at the age of 7. I knew 2 chords, and I wrote like a country song. And I discovered the magic of creating something and then sharing it with others and them feeling the things that I was feeling. And then from that moment, I was hooked. I was hooked on improvisation. I was hooked on writing. I actually didn't discover the saxophone until I was 10 years old. And I absolutely fell in love. First time I played it, I was like, this is the instrument I've been searching for so long. It's what I've been hearing up here along with my vocals. So I was like, I think I was a creator from my very, very early days. I love the idea of creating something from nothing, whether it was a skit or a dance. If you put just a mirror in front of me, my parents would say I'd lock myself in the room and then I'd just create.
Wow. I think a lot of us can relate to that. You've never known a time when you weren't passionate about music. It's just sort of in your DNA. I'm just curious, though, as a 7-year-old, what big life issues caused you to write a song at age 7? What was the subject matter?
Well, oddly enough, I was writing love songs about people breaking my heart, and I had never been through that.
Oh my gosh!
So I don't know. It's just the words came up. I let them flow. Right. A lot of times, I think when we're in writer's block, we actually block ourselves. But in this case, I was just so open to whatever was getting channeled through me. Yeah. So I was saying about things I hadn't even yet experienced.
Yeah. The creativity of a young person is sort of like that story of Sir Ken Robbins, who told the story of a kindergartner in school, and the class that day was drawing, and the students were all drawing, and the teacher walked to the one student and said, "What are you drawing?" And the little girl looks up and says, "I'm drawing a picture of God." And the teacher goes, "Well, but no one knows what God looks like." And the student goes, "They will in a minute." You just don't know what you don't know. You're not afraid of anything, and I think that's wonderful. So interesting, though. The piano was that something your parents suggested, or that you were drawn to, or what was the impetus of the first instrument that made you start playing?
Well, my mom has always had a real love for the arts, and she thought piano would be a great instrument for me and my sister to start on, just so that in the future we could sit down and play Happy Birthday, we could play Christmas songs, we could accompany ourselves. So, and I have in my mom's family, there's a line of great classical musicians. My grandma plays piano, so they thought that'd be a good place for me to start.
There's sort of that universal musical dream of being able to sit down at the office party and play a few songs, or strum a guitar at a campfire, right? That's what everyone's universal dream is. So what I think are a lot of their audience is students. I mean, there's also a lot of other people watching, but these are students that are about to graduate in not too distant future. Many of them are just curious as to the unknown of all of this, right? Everyone wants to be in this great field. You go to the NAMM show and you just say, "I want to be in that." And then when they say, "Well, what part?" That's when everyone goes, I would put you in a category of sort of a polymath. You're involved in so many different things in your career, from the management of it, of course, the playing and the recording and the filming. I'd just love to talk a little bit about how you've developed a little bit of your career where you're actually in control of so many different elements. Start with, how would you approach that as a young person?
Yeah, There is a mind shift that's happened for me that I wanted to share with a lot of young people. I think to think of yourself, I'm talking to the band leaders here, right? People who are aspiring to be artists. To think of yourself as the product. You need to find a way to turn what you're passionate about into something people will care about and will pay for and feel that brings them value. If we're talking about creating a career and making money and being able to do this for a long time and, as an artist, I think that's something I didn't quite understand before, right? I was like very into just the making of the art, and some, music business people and A&R people would try to box me into these certain things. Are you this? Are you that? And I'd be like, I don't want to, I'm not that or that. I'm like all these things. But what I didn't realize is they're talking from this point of view of you, the artist, your sound, your personality, you are the product that people are drawn to and that are going to, go to your shows or stream your music or support you. So I think, it's great for aspiring musicians to learn about the business side, to learn about marketing, to learn about branding, to look at other artists that they admire. And, you want to think about what are things that I do that are really unique and that I can start to strengthen even more. For me, it's like playing, singing, dancing, acting, being out there as a personality, connecting with my fans. Certain things I used to feel really shy about. I'm like, there's no place in this world for me to be like playing saxophone and dancing. And then I realized, like, based upon a bunch of experiences and trying some of these things out, my fans started to become like, oh my gosh, more of that, and they were really supporting me. And I started to realize, okay, I think there's some very unique things that I'm doing, but instead of shying away from them, I really need to play into them more. So, it's kind of, I really recommend that for students who are coming up to learn about the business side, because it is the music business after all.
Yeah.
And in order to be out there and to continue on, you got to find those people who love your music and want to support you and want to show up.
You think about how much has changed, and there had been an era where I think the artist separated themselves from the business and said that's for someone else to manage, but that's not at all. So we can almost say to everyone coming up now, those days are over. What you are now is involved. You are involved in all aspects of your career, I think, right?
Absolutely, Joe. It's like you are A&R, your product development, your management, and the amazing thing about technology today is that anybody, anywhere around the world, whoever's tuned in, you can set up your iPhone, you can go live, you can make your music, you can press upload on YouTube, you can, be live on Instagram, do TikToks, and people can find out who you are. So it's really a fair like playing field as far as get your talent out there. Now it's about really finding your audience, but it definitely is a different world. If you think that somebody is going to come along and do all of that stuff for you, that's not a manager's job, actually. They're there to support you, but they're not going to create the vision for you, the artist. They're not going to do, practice the performance and go live and DM your fans. That's really become the artist's job. So I think the more people embrace it, I'm on social media. I'm like, this is part of my job. I'm DMing people. Like, I'm making my music. I actually enjoy all these aspects as well, which is wonderful. And of course, people who will come into your team are there to support you, and nobody can do it alone. Right. But the more that you can build that groundwork for yourself and really create your vision, the clearer it will be for you as an artist and your team.
What parts of it that you don't like? What have you delegated off to others?
I think there's a lot of there's admin stuff, there's organizational things, whether it's like saving things in spreadsheets, or definitely some aspects of like post-production. But I will say, Joe, that even with all of those things, I still like to do it once myself to create a system to then be able to say to someone, this is how I like it to be edited. If I just say to someone, like, edit my video, and then they're going to send me something that I might feel is not me at all, I didn't give them any direction. So I think with every part of the business, I like to really know how I'm leading somebody and then give them instructions.
It's almost like the code of an entrepreneur, right? Set out the vision and then do the parts you love, bring in others to do the parts you don't particularly care for, and then create the whole thing. So
And I'm so grateful and lucky to really surround myself with like the greatest team members who are like way smarter than me and like have ideas and strategy. And then it really becomes the thing of like, all right, here's a vision. What do y'all think? You know, and then surrounding yourself with those amazing people and brains is like, it's really wonderful and key.
Okay, last question. COVID, the pandemic year that was, and maybe still is, but looking back over the last 10, 11 months, what are the key takeaways for you?
Well, I've really learned how to pivot during these times and how to adapt, right? Like I saw in one day, you know, $100,000 worth of live performances from the year just gone. And it's like, okay, now what do I do to keep the lights on and to keep my team going, right? And so I started to think about what is it that I can bring value to my audience? What do they, you know, and I realized people wanted to learn from me. And over like 3 days, me and my buddy Leo P, who's a brilliant saxophonist and dancer, we launched virtual workshops and we had 100 people sign up. In those 3 days, we made more money than the two of us than the two of our performance fees with the amount of time that was put in. To be honest, actually, we just showed up for the workshop and figured out what we were going to teach right then, and it went over really well. And since then, we've taught like tons of workshops. Now we're developing like digital educational products and, you know, communities along with virtual concerts. I played my first ever virtual wedding. You know, I figured out very quickly. Yeah, I figured out very quickly, like I have this audience. I'm really blessed. I'm really lucky. These are people that have been with me. I've been growing this thing and this amazing tribe. Now, how can I pivot? You know, and of course with amazing, team members as well. It's like, all right, guys, let's go. We can either stay in the passenger seat and wait for this to, you know, people are saying the beginning of COVID that it'd be like 2 months until live performances were back. Yep. You know, and if that was the case of just sitting and waiting, you know, we'd be out of business. Yep. So we figured out like, okay, let's get in the driver's seat and let's figure out something new. Let's put our entrepreneur hat on and let's go and let's try it out. We don't know if it's going to work, but let's experiment and let's keep trying. And I have this online presence. What do they want? What value can I bring? And it was just like, it's been actually very eye-opening and exciting. And I felt a lot of beautiful connection with students all around the world, with fans, like by doing, you know, digital performances and workshops.
Just crazy to have learned at such a young age, too. And everyone listening will have been through this so that, you know, regardless of what the future brings you, I don't think you're going to be afraid of anything. How could you after this past year? So I think there's a whole generation of people who are going to be fearless and spontaneous and joyous. That's when I think of your music. Those are the words that come to mind. So,
thank you, Joe. I also just want to say for anybody who's listening, right, young person in the arts, this could be a time that you feel so much doubt, right? Like, should I do this? Like, does it mean anything to be in the arts? And this whole year during this pandemic has made me think about there's been so much loneliness in the world. There's been so much need for connection, and people have been able to find that through the arts, and they continue to need that connection and that spirit. So what you do as a creator 150% absolutely matters, and it's so important. You know, we artists are the people that can bring that joy and connection in a world that honestly is just so divided. Music is the thing that brings us together. So, you know, keep doing your thing. It's so important.
That is a key takeaway from the last year, is that music has found its voice in so many ways. And when we go back to live events and physical concerts and festivals, we'll never not know this dual world, I don't think. I think it's going to be where we now go forever, which is awesome. Again, silver linings everywhere, right? As much heartbreak as we've had this year, there have been so many silver linings.
Absolutely.
Grace, this is awesome. For our viewers, if you don't know Grace, get online and you'll see everything we just talked about in the most amazing presentation. This is the future. You've just seen it. So thank you, Grace. Thanks for being here.
Joe, thank you so much. And it's such a pleasure to be with you, and the whole NAMM community is so awesome. January
22 NAMM show. See you there.
See you.
Okay. Well, I think we are now on to a panel part where we're going to have a little more lively kind of, okay, these are different parts of our industry, different parts of the business, complete different parts. So we're now going to hear from Kit Culpepper, Marcus Blackwell, and Laura Penrose. Kit and Laura and I go way back, and Marcus, we just met. But I've got some great questions for you guys. First of all, thanks for being here. Again, in our little virtual world, as we've seen some from Grace, this is a way we connect now. and it's not ideal. I'd much rather have you be sitting right here with us, but we're going to make it work, and it is working. So glad to have you here today. Well, let's see. I think we're going to kind of go a little bit of round robin here, and I'll just start with kind of an open-ended question that, again, everyone in our audience, gosh, what's the right question? They've all been where we are at one time, right? We've all been there going, okay, now what? You know, I'm about to graduate, or I'm newly out into the world. And can you imagine going out into the workforce after a pandemic year? But if you can put yourself in the audience's shoes, try and put yourself back at that point in your life and say, okay, what would I tell myself? What would I be thinking about, or what should I be thinking about if I'm about to enter into this musical world? Kip, why don't you start with you?
Oh, I think that's a really great question. I think typically with my younger friends, when they're about to graduate and they're thinking about a job, sometimes they idealize that perfect job and they go, I'm looking for something that I'm really going to love what I'm doing. And what I want to say is if older and wiser Kit could go back to pre-college graduation Kit, I would tell her, you know, every job is kind of like a perfect job because it paves the way to a career that you're really going to love. If you take every job as a positive step toward your career goals and a part of your journey and path to learn everything you need to learn, it all just kind of happens naturally. And you would surprise yourself with the jobs you take thinking, you know, maybe it isn't perfect in your brain, but once you get in there, you go, oh my goodness, I'm really good at coaching people, or I'm really, really good working with artists. And you just don't know until you do it. So Joe, I would say older and wiser Kit would tell young, almost graduates to enjoy the journey.
Yeah. And that everything you learn transfers to something else along the way and builds on that skill set. Yeah, 100%. I agree. Marcus, what would you tell the younger Marcus coming up? Besides, don't even get into music, get into Tesla or Bitcoin. What would you tell your younger self?
I would say first, it's nervousness is okay to have. It's normal. You're going to feel anxious about what the next step is. This is a huge milestone to be able to graduate from college. First of all, just take a break and congratulate yourself on finishing, such a tremendous accomplishment. What I would say now with the graduates coming out is that we're in a very interesting time in our economy where we need solutions, right? And so you spent the past, 2 or 4 years getting this degree, and it's like, okay, well, now what? Well, I think it's time to become creative. How can what I learned provide some solutions to the economy right now? We're still in a pandemic. Everyone's trying to figure out how to help, find solutions there. I think it's about saying, you know what, I'm an expert in this area. How does it fit into where I can be helpful? And the answer is there's lots of places. It's time to just be creative. And I know for me, internships were huge during college to where making the decision was a little bit easier for me because that's where the job was. So I would just say, it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to be anxious, but you've learned quite a lot. And it's just about being creative to see how you can be helpful.
We spend so much of our life worrying. When if you look back and realize it kind of works out, and I wish I hadn't spent so much time worrying. And you're right, anxiety is it's a driver, it's a motivator. But yeah, you got to have a little bit of a time to just reflect and say, you know what, this journey is awesome. And I think that's a good lesson there too, that stop once in a while and say, look, you just did that. You graduated. You're now on your way. And
right.
Again, you don't want to be, kind of lackadaisical about it. But at the same time, my younger self would say, worry a little bit less and try and enjoy the journey a little more. Laura, my friend, let's see. Let's put ourselves in Laura Penrose's shoes. It's September of 2019. and she says, I'm going to buy the venerable Nick Rail music chain of stores here in Southern California. What could possibly go wrong?
Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much. Yep.
Yeah.
So
Anyway.
looking at where I am now.
Reverse. What would you tell yourself then?
Do more research. No. No, I would probably tell current college graduates to not be boxed in on what their expectations are for each job. Be really open to different ideas. I'm not where I thought I was going to be when I graduated college. I did not see myself down this career path. I thought I was going to be a composer, and here I am, and it's wonderful. And I'm so thankful that I didn't box myself in. So I would tell people to just try new jobs, try new things. Don't be afraid. If it doesn't work, if you're not good at it, that's okay. Try something else. Don't be afraid. You don't cease to exist because you failed at something. So be brave. Don't be scared.
I think that's part of the journey. Quick question, show of hands, how many of you were music majors in college? How many of you were business majors, for example, or music business? Okay. Marcus, what did you study? Business? Okay.
I was a business major, then I switched to mathematics.
Yeah. Interesting how so many of us have these different roads that lead to music, right? Because behind all that is the passion for music. Kind of like a throw-in bonus question that you guys didn't get this one, but I'd be curious because everyone is wired differently with different sets of skills, and you sort of learn that, as some of you have said, through the different jobs you have, or different, even in the early jobs, they help shape, what your particular areas of expertise are or passion that you love. So I'll ask the question this way. How would you describe your superpower? What do you do different or better than anything else you think you could be doing, and how have you devoted yourself to it? So, Laura, what's your superpower?
That's a good question. It was not on the list.
Of course, I'm a drummer. I'm not going to stick to the list.
I would probably say my superpower is confidence. Not to be confused with courage, which is different. Probably confidence, and just that I am not afraid to ask questions and to admit things that I don't know, because it doesn't reflect negatively on me if I don't know it. So just confidence to be willing to learn and try new things.
Again, when you really think about, how we're wired, we all are given these skills different than anyone else. And I think that's the beauty of anyone listening, is to realize that that's the task ahead of you, is to find what your particular superpower is. Kit, what's your superpower?
I love this question, and this is something everyone should really know. I think my superpower, because of the way I was raised, I had to really care for my family as a young person, is a troubleshooter. I think I'm presented with problems, sometimes easy ones, sometimes very complex, and I just have a way of cutting through it all and getting to what the issue is, and then getting the right people on it, whether it's me or people who know what they're doing. But to really be able to articulate, this is the problem.
And then solve it.
And then we can solve it.
That's the key part, and then fix it. Marcus, superpower.
My superpower, Joe, is outside of the box thinking. And to kind of put into context, I created a company that teaches mathematics by learning how to play your favorite songs on the piano. And it stemmed from my own issues of math anxiety, but I connected my passion of playing the piano because I had two parents at home that did not allow bad grades to enter the household. So Marcus had to find a creative outside of the box way to increase his confidence in mathematics. So I did that through the company that I've created today.
Which is genius, by the way. And I think that's going to introduce music to so many more people. So, to ask myself that question, I would say that, again, it's so much of it is the way you're raised, right? Your upbringing, and I think you've all kind of expressed that sometimes your superpower is actually honed quite young. And in my case, I actually found out that there was a need in the world. I had a skill to be able to turn chaos into order. Chaotic situations and kind of make them orderly as best as you can. And I found out that, wow, there's actually a need for that in the world, and perhaps more now than ever when you think about the world as it is in flames. But that was it. And you just find, okay, then once you find that, the challenge for all of us and all our viewers is then how do you apply it? to which path in our large global ecosystem do you go down? And that's not always, clear, right? Sometimes you go to a door, there's a fork, you go to this door. Kit, so what are some of the decision points you made along the way, Kit, that kind of honed into what it is that you do best? What were some points where you were doing something and then another door opened? Any kind of path there, kind of a journey mapping you can share?
It's kind of like what I said earlier. I like to regard myself as kind of like that feather in the Forrest Gump movie. Mm-hmm. And, that I trust my path and the jobs that have come along the way. They have not all been what I dreamed of, but man, each of them have been perfect to lead me to Martin guitar. I would never have been able to articulate my experience and the different types of skills that I have without those many different doors opening. I would like to say, Joe, that sometimes when we perceive something very negative is happening at a job or, in a project, maybe it fell apart, or something that you thought should have a certain outcome had a different outcome, that those are all obstacles that we learn from and give us resilience for future opportunities.
I was just listening the other day, kind of given, I'm thinking about not being able to do the NAMM show this year and how much I'm going to miss everybody. And I was actually listening to an old record from a guy I used to work for, Todd Rundgren, and he had a song, it was the last album I worked with him on, and the lyric of the song meant so much more to me this time, and very different given the world we're in. But to your point, those obstacles or those, kind of walls, and the line goes, see if I can remember it. The quote was like, sometimes things fall apart, that's God's love in disguise. And I thought, what a beautiful lyric. And I didn't think about it that way when we were recording the album and everything. I just looked back and go, that's it. Sometimes things fall apart, and that's God's love in disguise. So, Marcus, what were some of the turns you made to be where you are now and have the influence and role you have? What were some of the journey mapping you did?
Joe, I've had so many. So first, since we're talking, our audience is really some college students. I went to Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. And when I first went, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I became a business major. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, I can figure it out as I go. And then I met accounting. And accounting let me know quickly that, Marcus, you do not belong here. So I went and okay, let's make some adjustments. And a lot of things happened for me at once. I read this book called The Eight by Catherine Neville, and it's a fictional book, but in it was a scene where they were watching a chess match. And someone took the moves from the chess match and made it into a musical composition. And I read that and I said, that is the coolest thing I have ever heard. So that planted a huge seed in me. So when I realized that I had to get away from accounting, I went and took a career placement test. Now, remember, I had a fear of mathematics because of the way it was taught and the bad stigma. So I go and take this test, and the lady says, have you thought about being a math major? And I'm like, what is going on here? I'm like, absolutely not. And so I said, something's going on here. So I went to go talk to the math department, and I said, look, I know you guys are looking for math majors, but would you support this idea I have that math can connect with music? And I'm pretty sure they just said yes to get me in the door, but they said yes. And I was able to do the math major, and with the hope that I could connect music. And that's what my senior essentially dissertation was how group theory and mathematics connected to music. And so, that just let me know that it was there. So since I was a math major, my career led me to becoming an engineer for GE, but learning the importance of community service. When I created the idea for Make Music Count, I was going and teaching my lessons once a week just for community service. I said, hey, I have a cool way to get kids excited about math, learn the piano. And doing that led to more schools finding out about my program I had created, which led to me being able to leave my corporate job and start Make Music Count full time.
So you were volunteering in the classroom, and that became the path. Isn't that so funny?
Yeah.
Laura, the idea of where you have arrived at, and again, by the way, I think you're in the perfect place, Laura. There's no question in my mind that you have landed in where you were meant to be. But what were some of the places that you kind of moved along in your journey to arrive where you are now?
So like I said earlier, so I started as a performance major and just wanted to do performing and composing and things like that. And I was about a year, not even that far, maybe a semester into my performance degree, and realized how much time it was alone in a practice room, because I'm a pianist. So it's not even like you're collaborating that much as a classical pianist. And I was alone all the time, and I kind of hated it. So I switched to commercial music, which is a lot more collaborative group projects, recording, engineering, things like that. And I loved all the connectivity between people. And so when I graduated, I worked retail, music retail, and just kind of went from there. I loved connecting with individuals, you know, especially kids getting their first instrument is so magical, and just helping the parents understand how to help, you know, help promote their kids' talent and skills. And I loved all that connectivity. And so each job I did was able to connect with people in a different way. So music retail, you're helping the end customer. I did music manufacturing. I was connecting with the music store owners and all their employees and helping them do sales training and product training. And now that I'm in this role, it's even more. I get to connect with my staff on all kinds of levels. It's amazing. I get to connect with teachers and educators and customers. And I mean, every part of the public it's so wonderful just to see what people are doing and to just share music with everyone. I strongly believe that there's a musical instrument for everyone. And if you don't think so, that means you just haven't found the right one yet. Yeah. And you have someone help you. I love the connectivity of it.
I think that those are lessons along the way of, are you, involved in wanting to be in the middle of people everywhere. I think that's such an important part of being in music, right? No, Laura, I cannot picture you as a isolated classical pianist somewhere, alone in your anxiety playing. No, that I could have told you that one. Why didn't you come to me? I could have saved you a couple of years, maybe. And so, I'm going to pivot over to a question on mentorship, and I know that the word mentorship means a lot of different things to different people. I know people who have embraced it right off the bat and said, this is everything I want to have mentors along the way. There's some who not quite even sure what it means, or some who even say, look, that's not my path. But the concept of having someone to guide you along, to, be a sage and maybe, just keep you from maybe help clear the fog away maybe from your journey. That to me is what mentoring is more about. So each one of you, I'm going to ask whether it was a formal mentorship or just people along your journey that have helped clear the fog for you. What were the takeaways? Why was that important to you? Marcus, I'll start with you. You must have had people along the way that maybe even came in for short periods of time or were traditional mentors, but speak to that a little bit about what were some of the things why it was important to you.
Joe, I've had many mentors. So as someone that first started out, when I had the idea for Make Music Count, I figured out that I needed to go to work with kids, but I knew nothing about the educational system at all. So I had a mentor that, provided guidance for, here's how you become a vendor for school districts. Here's how you run an after-school enrichment program. And then once we pivoted from an in-person class to an actual app, I knew nothing about how to build an app, right? And how to find developers. So I and I really think, God really ordains your steps to be drawn to certain people that can not only give you advice, but open doors for you that you wouldn't be able to open yourself. And the mentors that I have are all still with me. I can't even keep count of them now, because they all provide value in a very specific way. I've had mentors in my journey as a pianist and organist, right? Being able to play for small churches and mega churches and growing as a musician. And then, all of that was necessary to pour it back into this math curriculum that I created to help kids improve their confidence in math, but also just find a really neat way to learn how to play an instrument. And to Laura's part earlier, that oftentimes, just like there's a stigma for math being hard, there's a stigma that only artsy people can learn instruments. Yep. And that's not the case. Anyone can have the chance to learn an instrument, and we provide a really cool and fun way to learn quickly.
Yeah. No, it's sort of what Grace was alluding to earlier too, that we all have strengths and there's areas that we need some help on, and that's where those mentors can help along the way as well. That How do you build an app? Well, ask someone who's already built one. Let's start with that. Laura, what on your journey? What are some of the takeaways from people that have mentored you?
Oh, I've been blessed with lots of mentors. Some of them more formal, others just friends that are more experienced in certain ways than I am. But the biggest takeaways I've gotten from mentors, the biggest would be Nick. I mean, Nick Rail has been a mentor for the last year. Yeah. Really helping me look at the big picture of things and not be distracted by what's immediately in front of me, and seeing what my actions are going to do down the road in other ways. Just not being so hyper focused on what's directly in front of me, but that's helped me in a lot of ways in my life, not just professionally. It's really impacted, what I do.
Just sorting out that idea of long-term plan. What was the thing I read the other day about early COVID, phase 1 COVID? It was like, in quarantine, I'm going to buy a bread maker and learn to make sourdough, and I'm going to learn to play piano. That was like phase 1. Phase 2 or 3 of COVID is every day that I wake up, shower, and wear pants is a personal victory. So the mentors along the way have certainly helped. Kit, mentorship. What are some of the takeaways for you?
Oh, as a manager of people, or just managing projects and working with people, I believe if you're a leader in an organization, that it is your personal responsibility to be a mentor and a coach. Personally, as director now of channel strategy, but my entire career really has been leading teams. Mentorship, the true spirit of mentorship is when you as a mentor can bring the best out in people, their strengths. And so it sounds easy to say, but there are a lot of management styles that believe you need to identify weaknesses and then develop a person's weaknesses like crazy, right? That's how you get them all squared away. But my leadership style is there's a God-given talent for every unique person born into this world. They come with a talent that's very natural and innate to them. And if you're able to identify that and build that up and bring out their confidence in those areas, you've really helped them. I know that some of my best mentors have done that for me along the way. And we still have personal friendships now, even if these individuals, I've worked with them 20 years ago. Some of them are more spiritual now, as past colleagues. But currently at Martin Guitar, I'm surrounded by direct mentors and coaches, but also indirectly on a peer level. And the people that I work with, all feedback, you'll hear Kit say this a lot, all feedback is a gift and mentorship is a gift. So if you have a person or persons in your life that you trust and that you can count on, just really embrace them and have a lot of gratitude for them. I know I am a mentor for some, and I'm honored to be that person because out of just sheer kindness and care as a leader, it's my job to help you grow your career.
I mean, I think we'll end on that because I think that really captures the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish today. So, you think of all of us in the industry now, we care and want all the young people to know that they found their home, and we're here to help you find your right place in this home. I think now is a better time to come into our musical ecosystem than ever. There's more opportunity. There's more unique channels, places to go than ever. And just think of the panel and the guests today that we're all here to help you. Talking to the viewers now, we're all here to help you to make sure you don't fail. We're here to make sure you do not fail. We will catch you, and we will not let you fail. Welcome into our musical world. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Thanks to our panel. Thanks to Grace Kelly for inspiring us. And believe in Music Week, everybody. Stay tuned. More coming right up.